Welcome to Grow Your Wealth, the podcast where scaling a successful brand and your wellness go hand in hand. I'm Rena Goodwin, founder and CEO of Factor PR, a top beauty, health, and wellness PR studio, and I'm here to help you work smarter, not harder. Each week, we'll talk branding, marketing, and business growth alongside real, practical insights from trailblazers who are building businesses without the burnout. If you're ready to grow your brand, protect your energy, and design a life you love, you are in the right place. Let's grow. Hey everyone, welcome back to Grow Your Wealth. I'm Rena Goodwin. In this episode, I am joined by Chelsea Clark, founder of Momfluence, to talk about the incredible power of mom influencers and why brands should be paying much closer attention to this community. Chelsea shares how she built Momfluence to connect brands with authentic mom creators and why moms remain one of the most influential consumer groups in the world. We dive into the psychology behind why moms drive so many household purchasing decisions, what brands often get wrong about influencer marketing, and how gifting products can often be a smarter first step than jumping straight into paid partnerships. We also talk about the importance of authenticity, aesthetics, and community when it comes to influencer collaborations. So from color palettes to product storytelling to messaging, Chelsea is diving deep, explaining why the brands that succeed today are the ones that understand how moms actually share and recommend products and services. So if you're a founder, you're a marketer, or a brand builder looking for cost-effective ways to grow awareness and sales, this episode will open your eyes, as it did for me, to the true potential of mom-driven influencer marketing. Let's go. Chelsea, I am so excited to have you here on the Grow Your Wealth podcast. Welcome to you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so I'm excited to dig in to all things Chelsea, mom influencers, the mom influencer economy, all that good stuff here in just a little bit. For listeners meeting you for the first time, though, give us the highlight reel. Who are you? What is Momfluence, and what sparked you to build this business, and why?
Who am I? I mean, my response is always I'm a mom of two, which is really, quite lame. But I mean, my kids are 10 and 7. It's very full, we're full tilt with child rearing. So that feels like my main job. I have a part-time job called Momfluence that I do around my children because that's the reality. I've been doing Momfluence since my youngest was like a few months old. I used to own restaurants, and at the end of owning restaurants, we got our food into grocers, so they would sell our prepackaged food. So I understood distribution. Fast forward to us living in Costa Rica. I had my second son. I'm thinking to myself, I'm unemployed with 2 children living in Costa Rica. It sounds like a fantasy, but really I was like, probably should get a job or do something. And I started to help mom-owned small companies that were like clothing mostly or baby products get into retailers. So again, I was like, distribution, I understand this. This is easy. I can do this from Costa Rica. Well, all those businesses really needed to work with influencers because they were, not growing very much. And even just to sell through retailers, you need to have some, awareness. So I was then trying to help them with that and interviewing all these companies that had like a 30K campaign minimum kind of thing, like just way, way, way too expensive. For the brands that I was helping. So in some insane, nightly idea, I'm sure it was like a 3 a.m. idea, I was like, I should build a company. And I didn't even have an Instagram account. I had a friend who was an influencer. And I was like, Mel, does this sound like a crazy idea? Should I do this? You need to tell me everything about being an influencer because I know nothing. And so she helped me. Basically, I would run things by her. And she's like, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I've been doing it for 6 years. 6 years.
That's incredible. And you've worked with some super well-known brands. I saw on your website, The Bump, amongst others as well, too. So we're going to talk a little bit into that, just sort of the marketing of this, right? Because I'm sure when you're starting a new business, we talk a lot about this on the Grow Your Wealth podcast, especially if it's something that has never really been done before or done in this manner. You're not only trying to get the word out about your business, but about why it's important too, right? And so what really, other than being a mother, right? What really was the impetus of this business? You clearly saw a gap in the market, right? And that you wanted to fill. What was that? Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I am an ideas person. I have thought through so many other ideas far more than Momfluence. I often reflect back and I'm like, why did I think this was like, why did I go for this? I have had business plans, ordered samples, made mock-ups of other things that I never did. I have no idea why I went forward other than something like, you know, esoteric guiding me because I honestly don't know. I just knew that all these platforms and all these companies really didn't have just moms. And if you're looking for, like someone to, someone to send your diaper bag to. I don't want to look through travel influencers and Gen Z and men, right? It's like, and I was a mom of a newborn and a 3-year-old. Everything in my life was kid. I didn't look at anything outside of kid products. And I was like, God, there are so many brands. Like moms make so many decisions. And the more I kind of got down that road, the further I was convinced that it could be a business for sure.
That's amazing. And so right now, Momfluence has roughly 8,000 mom influencers as part of its community, right? Are you
Yeah.
vetting these women
Yeah.
as they're coming in? How does
Yeah, so
this work?
in the very beginning, my goal was to launch with 500 mom influencers in our little network, right? I needed some people to apply to the campaigns I was going to get. And back then, I manually DM'd them from our account. So it was all me getting the first 500. From there, honestly, I think they share the campaigns among themselves because people apply all the time. Sometimes we do outreach and find new creators ourselves for specific campaigns, but honestly, we get a lot of applicants. And I think it's because mom influencers are, they often have other friends, whether they're on the same coast or not. And they're like, hey, you should try this. I got a campaign for this. Should apply. And they really are telling each other. So it's helping that way. And so, yes, they apply and we vet them. We have a pretty like wide range of what we accept though, as they don't need to be big, right? Everyone thinks, oh, I can't be an influencer if I'm like under 10,000 audience. That doesn't matter to us. We have lots of campaigns where brands want smaller creators. So it's not, it's really like quality over size in a nutshell.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, right? Like we're starting to look a lot more at engagement rate, like being more on the brand side of things. They're looking for, yes, reach, but conversions, right? Reach is meaningless unless you've got people who are, really invested in that audience and so forth. So I love that you're also tackling this very strategically versus, kind of en masse. Like we've had clients where they're like, I want to work with this influencer. This would happen to be a mother also has 1 million followers. She was like on a hot TV show. They spend thousands of dollars with her, got great content, but didn't get not a single sale, right? And so, there were multiple reasons that we could argue about. We won't spend the time doing so right now, but that this is something that brands are certainly not spending money with influencers, but they're being a little bit choosier about where to put their money when it comes to influencers. So I'm just kind of curious from you because you are so ingrained in this space, Chelsea, like what are the best strategies that you're seeing right now? Particularly like let's say someone's listening, they have a growing business and they're kind of toggling between paid versus organic. Can you give us some best practices or even just some thought starters, considerations on how to make these decisions so that it is mutually beneficial, of course, right? For the influencer and the brand too.
Yeah. I mean, there's no real, a lot of it depends on the brand, but just for simplicity's sake, let's say that it's an item that is desirable to be gifted, right? That's the most ideal business you can have is something that is, upwards of $75 and is desirable to be gifted. And if you have that, you really shouldn't be doing paid for a very long time, very long time. And I'll reference like Solly Baby. Solly Baby is a baby wrap company. You must know it. In the beginning, it was, I mean, when I started, I don't know when they actually started, but they were small back then. They were small. And I watched them gift like crazy for a very, very, very long time. And they built a brand that was known. And then they started paying influencers, right? And now I'm sure I look at their feed sometimes and they're paying big creators for sure. But you really shouldn't pay creators other than maybe getting like really great UGC that you can use for ads until you have, a community that loves you, that you've built yourself and you can use creator content for that. So in that way, you're paying maybe like $200 a video kind of thing. But to actually pay influencers to build your brand is a sure way to run out of money. And I think that it's like, I always joke with my sales calls that influencers are not magicians. They cannot instantly get you sales. That is just not how it works. They will amplify what you've already been building. And so I think that not skipping over that step with your own organic content, right? Like most brands have something to say. Figure out a great aesthetic way to say that, whatever that is, on brand.
I love that. That's very much in line with what we kind of preach here at Factor PR as well too, is that really we view influencers as a PR mechanism as well too, because it's about building that brand awareness and that trust in the brand. I just want to double tap on what you said though too, right? Because I think that a lot of brands do the exact opposite of what you just said, which is I'm starting up, so I need to invest all this money in influencers because nobody knows who I am.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is no. I mean, obviously, from a business perspective, unless you are cash flow is doing really well, right? Like, why would you spend money on something that may or may not turn a result in your business? So,
Yeah.
you mentioned gifting like crazy. So, volume sounds like a piece of the puzzle.
Everyone knows Smart Sweets, right? I'm assuming. I'm in Canada, but Smart Sweets gifted anybody that would take it. Anybody. And they have candy's easy to gift. But I always think of it, if I was starting a company, I would make sure it was something I could gift, right? Because I know I need to do influencer work. It's hard when you don't sell a sexy product or a really inexpensive product to gift. So that would be something I would think about. And I would gift for a long time. And I mean, there's massive brands that I have calls with that you would think based on their sales volume and like their aware, their how well known they are, that they would spend tons. And no, they're like, we only gift, we don't spend money, because most of the time, large influencers, to what you said offline earlier, unless it's a fast fashion item that's really inexpensive or an Amazon thing, like you do not sell instantly. No, so why work with a giant influencer, right? It's just not what I would do. I mean, there's a time and a place, I think. I think it can be a statement, right? There's lots of influencers that are really big, and by partnering with them, you're making a statement about who you are, like what you value. Yeah. And sure, that can be something, but that falls into a different category. That's not a conversion play. That's like, a brand building. And if you have the money to do that, fine, but don't expect it to be, actually one of the first big campaigns I ran, it was $30K. And I was like, wow, this is a big campaign. This is a big deal, right? Like this was for year one, I think, or maybe it was the first 3 months. And we hired someone, Belliston Twins. I love her. We still work with her. She was probably 10K or less. And then we hired, I don't know if you remember the show Seventh Heaven, but we hired like a C or B list celebrity from Seventh Heaven. And this Kelly, the smallest creator that was paid $100 or something, outperformed the one that was the millions. And that lesson has stayed with me the whole time. I'm like, nope, small creators. She had crazy link clicks. She drove a lot of sales, and she was paid $100, not 30,000 or whatever the other part was.
That's incredible data. Why do you think that was the case?
I think just like if you only have a 10K audience, everyone that's following you, they're early on. You're more authentic back then. You don't have a ton of brand deals, right? Like rarely a 10K creator has just brand deal after brand deal. And so when you share something, people really listen. They're like, oh, what is it that she's sharing? Right? There's nothing worse than when you ask me, do we vet creators? One of the main things we vet for is your whole feed an ad? Like is your post after post after post an ad? Because why? I need someone to explain to me why people do that. It's like I'd pay them to tell me, spread them out, just do less. It's, like you get a magazine that's so thick and you're like, skip through all those ads. Where are the articles? That's what people are doing with your feed. They don't want to see ads. They really don't. So you have to do few and far between.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And it's such an important thing that you mentioned too, Chelsea, about that brand alignment piece. And, that I think is a great reminder just in terms of who to partner with and how to partner with them. Consider the outcome that you're looking for, right? Because exactly, like I've also heard of brands dropping hundreds of $1,000s to work with a Kardashian. And, those things are so transactional. For most of us, you're like, yeah, they don't eat this crap. Like they're just doing
the Kardashian Febreze campaign. I remember someone else in this space did a whole post about this, like, as if the Kardashians are spraying Febreze in their house. Come on.
Yeah.
Right? Just like, why? That was a waste of money. Do a funny one, do like a well-known, like Caesar, the dog person. That makes sense. Of course he'd have Febreze because he has a million dogs running around, right? Like,
yes. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, totally, right? But it was probably more about being able to say that they worked with a Kardashian, right? Rather than immediate automatic sales that come across from it too. I love that you also mentioned authenticity, because some of my favorite creator partnerships are the ones where you don't even realize that a partnership is happening. Like, it's actually entertaining or really educational in some way as well too. Do you tend to find, just in terms of performance for some of these relationships, whether it is gifted or, sponsored, traded, what have you, let's talk a little bit about the substance of those partnerships. Are the brands leading them? Are the influencers leading them? What creates this perfect harmony?
Well, you mean in the form of content direction, like who's coming? I mean, most paid campaigns, most brands are still providing a brief and really want certain things to be said, even though they come across very inauthentically, even though we write all over everything we could possibly communicate. Like, let the creator tell this as if they were saying it to a friend, which means they're not going to include that it's EWG certified, because I would never say that to my friend, right? That's just not the thing. But yeah, when a brand is paying, they generally have pretty strict guidelines, and they go through content revisions, and they'll literally, you know, they'll make adjustments. Some really good brands fully understand, like, hey, full creative freedom, just don't do this, right? And like, that's the much better way. I heard someone ages ago explain the brief that as it should be the bumpers in a bowling alley. Like, don't say these things, keep in this lane, but otherwise do whatever you want, which is the ideal thing. For gifted, though, creators really do have full freedom, because there's seldom a brand that's getting to see the content ahead of time. And also, I think they don't feel as, it's not a paid partnership, and I think gifted influencers feel like they're doing the brand a favor. So they're not going to follow a brief, which is fair, right? It's like, you're just sending me a gift. 6 years ago when I started, I think gifting was still kind of more or less the norm. Like, paying influencers was beginning to happen, but now it's really shifted. I mean, if you're an influencer, you can get everything gifted you could possibly want if you just reach out, right? It's not hard. So gifted the creator for sure. I mean, I guess it depends on the product. I think gifted partnerships always feel better, though, because it's in line with what the creator normally does on their feed, right? They're not trying to think of these key points and key features to touch on. Like, I can't do that. I had to film a video explaining our media kit and our platform launch. I don't ever talk on camera, like film, because I can't do it. And I was like, I think it took me an hour to film 30 seconds, me saying what my own platform does. Because I'm like, oh, I got to say this point and this point. I don't understand. Like, I get why it comes off inauthentic, because you're trying to make sure you remember everything.
Hi, friends. I want to tell you about our new and improved authority accelerator from Factor PR called Realfluence. Realfluence is the only membership that helps beauty and wellness founders grow their reputation and authority to attract new customers without endless discounting, advertising, or going viral. Inside, you'll learn how to get recognized for your product or your expertise, partner with other founders, and become the name people trust and talk about, all with the guidance and community to support you every step of the way. Remember, you can't buy authority. You have to earn it. And Realfluence is here to help. Visit therealfluence.com to get started. Yeah, I've had influencers even mispronounce the brand totally accidentally, probably because they were distracted by all of the other kind of talking points that they needed to do as well. So that makes a lot of sense. I want to also kind of circle back to moms in general. Right? On your website, you mentioned that mothers are responsible for about 85% of all purchases in the home. Nevertheless, again, kind of working on the brand side of things, and even just, kind of universally, moms are sort of put into this box as well too. Like, mom, like, she has a baby or very young children, but you and I are moms. We don't have babies. My daughters are 8 and 6, so not far behind. And, they're still certainly part of this category as well. We're just not buying diapers and things like that as usual too. Can you tell me about how can brands work with moms, not just in this, kind of key sort of perinatal period, so to speak, but even for the long run as well too. Well, how does it make sense to engage with these influencers, maybe in some ways that we're not immediately thinking of?
That's a great question. I mean, we've helped brands get speakers for like, taste testing on the streets. Well, some brands use influencer groups for focus groups. Like for new product launches, we've worked with some that, let's say they had like an adult line of something and they're launching a kids. They want to know like, hey, we need 50 moms to help us understand like what they would use for their kid. Really until a kid leaves home, the mom is deciding most things. It certainly doesn't end when the baby phase is over. So I think, I mean, I've had calls with things that are only for men, right? Like golf simulators, beard trimmers. Women really decide most of everything. I mean, I have the stat up that is like the global stat, but I think I probably decide like 99.9% of things, or at least like heavily influence. Like we have the final veto, at least, like absolutely not. Cars, winter tires. I mean, it goes on and on. Maybe like the, oil and lube for the car, I probably would be, I don't even need to know about that. But we care about so many things, right? And we're always sharing what was worked for us with our friends. And that's why women are so powerful. Men don't go around saying, oh my God, I listened to this great thing and you should do this. I mean, maybe some men do, but they're just not community driven like women are, right? And this goes back to like the Tupperware party days and Mary Kay and all. It's just evolved from that, right? It's just gotten to be digital and it can span way more things now. It can, you can make money up from a variety of things, not just makeup and Tupperware.
Oh man, I remember those. I've never actually attended a Mary Kay or a Tupperware party, but my goodness, you always heard about them. And they seem to be very successful too. So this is not what we're talking about. I think was Mary Kay and MLM? I don't remember.
I think it was. They had sales consultant. My mom's would buy. She would go to like these little parties, and yeah, you would get like a pink Cadillac if you were a high. So yeah, I'm sure they were. Yeah.
Oh man, I was like at our co-working space the other day and saw one of those pink Cadillacs.
Oh yeah. That was like very coveted back then. I mean, you'd be surprised though. A lot of influencer or affiliate type things, which really that there's a whole debate or like a conversation to be had about. Really, all influencers are affiliates, whether they know it or not. A brand thinks it in that way or hopes they will be, and there are lots that are structured the MLM way, right? Like that is somewhat common. But yeah, moms they're a powerful group, and I think I looked it up before our call. I think like 80% of women in America at the age of 40 are moms, like have a child. So, I mean, it's not a small. So basically, if you sell to women, you're selling to a mom for the most part, right? And that's why, like, same as you, we work with health and wellness, of course. Like, that's a big part of beauty as well, but also tons of food. What's another, like education apps, anything which would do with learning. I mean, we've had calls with university prep courses, right? Like moms just really nurture their children until they leave the house and then probably then some. But so yeah, they really are powerful. And we've tried to work with dads. We have a few dad accounts in our network. And even a dad that has a great account, we have some brands that will say like, hey, for Father's Day, we want to work with men. And they just don't respond to us, which maybe is related to our name, but they don't monetize their account the way women. Like women have taken this opportunity and run with it. When you think of the number of mom influencers there are compared to dad influencers, I mean, I would think it's like 100 to 1.
Oh yeah.
So it just shows how entrepreneurial and just the hustle that women have, right? Most of these women are staying at home or they have a part-time job or a full-time job. Either way, they have a job and they're also a creator, right? Even if they're a stay-at-home mom, how do they juggle that? It's wild.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we definitely come across more of those mom influencers that are doing this as what you would call kind of part-time or a side hustle, but they do treat it like a business as well. And I think that's something that would be so helpful to learn from you as well, Chelsea, that a lot of businesses kind of assume this has got to be expensive. Influence marketing must be super pricey. But what does a truly cost-effective and beneficial influencer strategy look like in practice? You mentioned sort of the mass gifting.
Yeah.
But, kind of take us through like maybe that stage 1, stage 2, an ideal kind of scenario, understanding that it's going to look a little bit different, right, for each brand.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you can spend a lot of money on influencers. It can run out very, very quickly. So I think that the best way to spend money really is to get, let's say you do, I mean, if it was me, again, going back to having a giftable item, maybe you gift 100 people over a few months and you figure out from those, like who performed well, who did, what content did you like, who did you like working with? And then you can reactivate those creators in a small paid way. And because you're starting with gifted creators, their asking rate to get paid will be small as well. And then you can test small, right? You can test either with, a little, maybe you just activate 20 of them, right? It doesn't need to be a big number. But having the same creators post over and over is far better than having just brand new creators every time. So if it was me, I would gift first. I would pick the top 20% roughly, and I would have them on like a 3-month program where they're posting once a month for 3 months and then see where that gets.
I love that.
It can get expensive though, for sure. I mean, that's always I've tried to be, I have succeeded on purpose though, to be reasonably priced, right? The number of calls that I'm on they're like, oh, wow, your fees are really reasonable, because just advertising agencies, marketing agencies in general, in the past, especially, were just this very expensive thing. And I just don't think it has to be. I mean, it's very human centric, as you know, like anything related to influencers requires a lot of human connection and following up and chasing and managing. So it's definitely not the cheapest thing you can do. And that is a reason people outsource it. They don't want to spend hours following up over email with creators. But that can be a very inexpensive thing. Let's say you have 20 creators posting a month and you're paying them $50 to $100. That's not a huge amount, right? That's not dropping 20K on one video on TikTok, which, I would never advise.
Me neither. Yeah, that also feels a lot less risky. It's a lot of work to manage, right? That's 20 different creators. But, we do this too, where we sort of evaluate how the relationship's going, how the content's looking, that sort of thing. And then after that 3-month time period, you can swap some out.
Yeah.
I think too, would you agree with this, that creators want to be in it to win it for the long run as well, right? Like, so this isn't just a one-sided transaction, right, Chelsea? Like, this is also creators wanting to make a difference and, kind of have like a long-standing gig with the brand. Sure.
For sure. It would be very tiring for them to constantly come up with new collaborations every month, right? And it gets cheaper the longer you can negotiate, right? And that 3-month on that 3-month campaign, you can negotiate a lower rate because you're giving them, long-term work. But it is interesting. I thought of this listening to a podcast the other day, that I think that there is a weird mentality almost, where brands aren't really looking for people that are genuinely trying to help their business. Like if I was going to hire a builder for a backyard shed or something, which I'm actively trying to do, so that's why I use the example. I want someone that I feel like is really invested in the project I'm doing and like wants to help me, right? Every brand is looking for help from influencers, whether it's content or sales or awareness, whatever it is. And I think that if you don't get the sense that the influencer or the person behind their account wants to help you, like they're invested even slightly in helping your brand, I think that's a good sign that it's going to be transactional. It's not going to work. And you can tell very quickly by the email communication. And that's why I say, out of like the 100 that you gift, you'll know the 20 that you're like, these people feel like they actually care about what we're doing, because it's all humans behind everything, right? Most, a brand that's doing 100 or is starting with gifting is usually a privately held company that is like family owned, and there's people behind that and someone's dream. And you want people that are actually willing to go the extra mile, like post extra stories. It doesn't need to be completely down to a contract of tit for tat. I think that's a terrible way to enter something.
Absolutely. And what do you think about influencers reaching out to brands? Is that something that Momfluence also allows as well too?
Yeah, I am. We don't own our network. They just happen to be like part of our community. So yeah, they reach out to brands all the time. Not necessarily ones that we're working with at that time, unless we don't know. But yeah, we send out campaign applications and then creators apply. So they could if they want. But I think I definitely think creators reaching out to brands is still very, very valued. In fact, I talk to a lot of brands who say they don't have a need for us because they get so many incoming requests that they're like, we don't need any new talent. We have, so many. So I think it's definitely worthwhile. Again, that's a time consuming thing for creators. I can't imagine pitching all the time, but I mean, lots of times they know like, hey, I need a double stroller because I'm coming, I'm having another baby, and they'll reach out to 10 brands and get one gifted. And then that's a great contract for them, right? They could do 6 months of content. The brand loves it. Those are kind of like the ideal scenarios for both sides, really.
I love that. I love it too when creators, if they do reach out, or even if we reach out to them, they come with their own ideas too. I think that's always so helpful because everyone's going to have kind of their unique case scenario. And, maybe that person reaches out, they need a double stroller, and, they're a marathon runner as well, right? They can maybe do a reel or something of that nature where they're preparing for a marathon as a new mom, like kind of just making it a little bit more personal. I always advocate for if you're a creator out there, you don't have to wait for the brand to necessarily be like, do it this way. To your point, sometimes I
Yeah.
off just really cheesy and inauthentic.
Yeah.
Love it when they're like, oh, that's a great take on our product, right? Like let's definitely start talking about it. So great way to stand out too. Uh, you talk about scaling by leveraging your points of highest use. I wanted to ask you about this, Chelsea, if you don't mind. What do you mean by this exactly? Because this is, I think, a really good point. Could you share more on that?
Yeah. I mean, when I launched Momfluence, it was really just me. I had, as I said, my friend Mel helped kind of with the idea of it, but then it was just me. I was the only person that was like, got to make this happen. And so in the beginning, you do everything, right? And that's totally normal. But very quickly, you have this doomsday sense that like, I can't do it all. I can't keep up with this. I can't do X, Y, and Z. And I think that I think that very early on, I realized that I needed to get rid of some responsibilities. And the things that were the most tedious and the things that were the cheapest for me to find someone else to do were where I started, right? So I've always had Upwork, freelancers doing, really menial tasks that would take me, like a full-time job to do outreach, for example, the 500 creator list. I had someone find me the list, then I would message them, or I'm sure at some point I had them message them on my behalf. So I think unless we're really using our time, especially as a mom who works school hours, I don't have a lot of time in the day to do things that I shouldn't be doing. So I really do get rid of everything I possibly can, except for things that I really don't think someone else could do, and they're really important, right? Because nobody's going to do what you can do. Well, almost never. You're going to do the best job you can because it's your company, right? There's lots of things, email deliverability. I don't worry about that. I've outreached that because I just don't even understand it and I don't want to. But there's lots of things where I'm like, I'm the best person at this. I should do this. But if someone else can do it almost as good and it's not that important, then I'm not going to do it. But like sales calls, I do all of my own sales calls because that's an industry knowledge requirement that I don't know if I'd be able to outsource at like a reasonable cost. Right. And so you kind of know what things are like really mission critical to scaling or maintaining your business and what things it doesn't really matter if it's not done as perfectly. And that's hard for a perfectionist Virgo like me, really hard. But it feels so much better when but this is the trick. You have to give it to someone else and then not check in on it because you'll check in on it and realize it's not being done the way you want it to, or it's not perfect. And then you'll get like almost lured back in. And so the things that I've handed off, I realize now that I can't even look at what's going on because you'll realize that you should be checking it and you're like, oh, I should micromanage that. And if it's not causing a big problem, you should get rid of it. And sorry, my last point is you'll know what to get rid of because you won't like doing it. It's really quite simple. You'll like doing what you're good at and vice versa. So just anything you don't like doing, get rid of it.
I love that. I heard once a quote that was 80% perfect or there is 100% awesome, which I know can be sometimes difficult because it's 100% awesome because you didn't have to do it.
Right.
So just like, step away. Just step away. That's something that I feel like I've grown a lot in my career as well, right? Like running a business. In the beginning, you're doing everything because you have to, because you have no money to do it any other way as well. But certainly as the business grows, offshoring maybe, but some of those tasks that don't light you up, that aren't in your zone of genius, are so important. And kudos to you. It looks like Momfluence is running super well. You guys are obviously growing. You're getting in touch with all of these amazing brands that are hiring you as well too. As a business owner to business owner, tell us about, you do the sales. How are these brands finding you? Are you doing a lot of outbound? Are you doing in and out? Are you doing ads? What works for an online platform?
Yes, I would love to ask anybody else this question because I have no idea. I have always, from day one, I've used a LinkedIn outreach tool, which I could send you after. It's called Duck Soup. It's been very good. Love that. So I do get quite a few leads from that. And I have over the past three or 4 years had like a pretty substantial email outreach program, which is getting harder and harder. And it's incredibly, like Microsoft doesn't allow emails to be sent anymore. It gets very challenging. But yeah, at one point I had 3 dedicated full-time outreach employees.
Wow.
Yes. So now I've gotten it more, automatic, I'd say, but that gets less targeted, which is also not a great thing. I do get more referrals, and actually the biggest change has been that now I have more long-term clients because I don't do any contracts. There's no monthly commitment because I don't want that. I don't ever want to sign up for anything that I'm like, oh God, I'm locked in for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And so even though it'd be better for my business to do that, I don't do that. And so sometimes in the beginning, it was a lot of people doing it 1 month at a time, right? Well, like it's the same way creators feel, that gets exhausting to always find new clients. So the biggest change really has been we have a lot of long-term clients, which are great. Paid ads, I've never tried. I need to try it. But actually I built software, not me personally, but it finally released this past January. It's been like a 6-year journey of iterations and things not working and me being too distracted to focus on it. And so I didn't really want to do a kind of paid ads until that kind of came up. So it'll be interesting this year what I'm going to try. But email outreach, I've always done, actually since the very beginning. LinkedIn has been a really good resource for me for sure. And I will let you know about paid ads, but I think paid ads will get really expensive, especially in marketing agency, influencer.
Yeah.
I think it's highly competitive. So I don't know how much I'll dedicate to that.
I know we've done a little bit of paid advertising. It's been great for things like lead magnets, but to, someone to just pull out a credit card and suddenly drop thousands of dollars or set up a sales call, things of that nature, it's a little bit tougher to qualify, right? Because I think ads are great for curiosity. And if you can give someone something free and then kind of warm them up in a nurture funnel, I could see that working. But, have I gotten a $30,000 retainer client from an ad? No. It's going to be, it's this very similar for us. Referrals and AI, actually, which is something that I've talked about a lot, which is a referral, arguably as well, too, but it's free. So
you need to tell me about this because I use AI personally, for my own working, but I don't use it at all for outreach.
yeah,
I should go back and listen to an episode. Have you talked about it recently?
I have. Yes, I'll send you an episode. Do you have a blog?
No.
Gotta start a blog.
Oh.
Or if you're on LinkedIn, you can use LinkedIn. And this is actually a great tip for anybody. I usually post on LinkedIn as a post, right?
Right.
But if you post as an article on LinkedIn, it's crawlable. ChatGPT and Claude.
So
if you want something that has a little bit more longevity and more reach, consider, like for you, it could be a great LinkedIn article about why mom influencers, like something or think in terms of what people are actually going to switch into search or to ChatGPT. Where can I find, 100 awesome mom influencers? And then use that as part of your keywords, but make it a LinkedIn article, not a blog post. I was like, love it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I mean, I know there's AI agents that can write things on LinkedIn for you. It's just like, that's on my horizon of things to do.
Just add it to the list.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, what system do you use to manage your tasks? Even that, like the organizational structures behind any business is so fascinating to me because it's just, there's so many moving parts.
That's the Virgo in you.
Yeah, probably. I know. I'm like, I spend more time organizing my list than doing tasks. I'm like, well, this needs to be moved over. I need to highlight this a special color.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I have a lot of Virgo in my chart too. That perfectionist, very organizational, like all of that. But it's necessary. I highly recommend Asana. That's what we use at Factor if you've ever used it.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Also lets you color code, which is nice too.
Yeah. I use Trello now, which I think Asana owns Trello. I used Asana back in the for coding or anyway, but yeah, you do get stuck in what, like I used Trello from the very beginning and you get stuck with what, like it's so familiar to me now. I'm like, this isn't the best tool, but it's just like I know exactly what it is. I don't need to learn anything. I'm like getting to one of those old people that's like, I don't want a cell phone. I'll just use my landline.
That's coming back now.
I know. I keep threatening my kids that I'm going to get them a landline instead of like when you're 16, I'll get you a landline, not a cell phone. They're like, no.
Yes, they have these really cute, what are they called? Tin can
Yeah,
these
yeah,
nose. I got
yeah.
to have their own back order. Well, I should invite them to come talk about how they manage that. Like something so analog and old school is on back order. What
Yeah, yeah.
the heck?
Yes, that is amazing. I saw an ad for them or something and immediately emailed them. I was like, you guys need to be a client of mine. This is literally perfect. Yeah, I do that all the time. Aside from my automated email outreach, I often will listen to podcasts or see a brand in a store and I take a picture. I'm like, I need to reach out to you. I saw you in a store. You'd be amazing.
Oh my gosh, so smart. That's actually genius, right? Especially when you've got that connection and you know your community would be perfect for it. Are there any particular when it comes to mom influencers? I just have two more questions.
Yeah, yeah.
I know we're almost at time. Um, someone's listening to this that owns a business that are curious about working with mom influencers. Can you give us any kind of scoop? Like, what are some of the hottest products, most innovative, interesting? What do moms what are they asking you? Like, I would love to see more of these. It doesn't have to be specific products, but you mentioned health and wellness. Like, is that on of mind for? Because when you think about moms, as a mom, there are things I want for me because I'm a mom, but then there are things I want for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it can even be one for moms, one for kids.
I mean, I don't get this level of feedback. That's a great question. I don't actually even know if I can answer it. I mean, honestly, I think that one of the biggest things that brands should look at across like any industry is color palette. This is where I see brands go wrong all the time. I have a brand right now that I won't say who it is, but on their product choice question, so the hired influencers will get a product choice question, like which color do you want? I'm going to add a question that the brand is not going to know about. What color would you have wanted? Because the coloring is so off, and like coloring is a trend. You have to be on trend, I think, for many impulse purchases. And so I think that more, health and wellness, of course, is really big. TikTok, I think, has like really changed the volume of health and wellness content we're being fed. Um, I mean, anything sustainable, like most brands that I work with that are launching are sustainable in some fashion or like healthy for food. So obviously but that's been kind of a trend for a while. But the only really answer I have is just the color thing because I don't know specific things that moms want. Um, but I think that anything in a nice color, like, our place came out with the 4-in-1, that whole little like air fryer thing. And it was in the most beautiful colors. And that's what sells. It's like aesthetic things sell. People want things to feel visually beautiful. And so, yeah, I'm not really answering your question because I don't have a good answer, but things that help you with sleep, of course, like sleep, anything with like personal health and wellness, with anything trending on TikTok, sleep, magnesium, anything analog for kids. Like we actually are working with quite a few cell phones or like dumb phones. Um, things that get kids outside. I think there's like this resurgence of us trying to really get our kids to have our own childhood, right? Like we all think that we had the best childhood because we did. We're the last kids to grow up without cell phones, social media and stuff. So I think anything that can kind of like play to our own nostalgia, but in a somewhat modern way for our kids is like the tin can phone. I mean it speaks for itself. It's out of stock.
Those are great tips. So I took away, obviously, things that are health and wellness related, things that are enhancing our children's childhood with more, screen less time, so to speak. That's more analog, getting it back to nature. And again, you bring up such a great point. Good looking things, right? Like things that are very aesthetically pleasing that make you want to have it. As a dynamite point too about even like influencers, use your influencers in your community as a focus group. Like I love that you mentioned that. Why not just ask them what color they would have wanted?
Yeah, for future things. And honestly, having aesthetic products makes it easier to gift. The creators need to think of how it's going to look on their feed, and their feed is their own magazine, right? They're very focused on that. So if you have a product that is outdated colors or just your website is outdated. I mean, there's been times that I've had to say to brands, like, I think that you should spend money on your website first and then come back because, or your feed, like you have to set the brand like feeling, right? Like people buy a feeling. It's so known and like said over and over, but they really do. I mean, I impulse buy things for the feeling because I'm like, oh, that feels so Scandinavian and like homey and cozy. And like, yes, I want that because I think I'm going to feel that way when I get that candle or whatever it is. But yeah, the feel is really important. So like an outdated logo, just colors that are dated website, those things need to be fixed before even, you know, you could have a great product with the worst branding. I mean, I know, you know, so many legacy products in health and wellness. I'm like, can you update your logo and your product bottle before we do anything?
Absolutely. Yeah, we had an early on podcast episode about what do you do first, sort of this organic or paid. And I brought in someone who was an advertiser and she said organic first, right? Because similar to what you're saying about influencers, they're there to help amplify. So if your foundation and your brand is not a great first impression of which you get only one, they're amplifying something that you're basically not going to see conversions, right? Because you're spending all this time and energy to amplify something that the market doesn't want. And like, how depressing is that, right? So I 100% agree with you. Make sure that those like foundational elements are looking good and that you're really portraying the brand that you want people to buy and build that community off of as well too. Momfluence sounds awesome. I definitely encourage folks to check it out. Where can they find you and where can they learn more about your platform?
Yeah, momfluence.co or .com. They both go to it. I don't personally have anywhere they can find me other than LinkedIn, but you can message me on Momfluence or on LinkedIn and I will always respond. I love when brands, honestly, my favorite thing, and I don't make money from it. I probably shouldn't spend time doing it. I love talking to brands that have a problem or are starting up. Like, this is why I got into this. I just love the psychology behind how can we get people to like know about you and buy from you. And so anyone wants to reach out by DM or LinkedIn, I will happily give you my advice. And it's very honest advice, which sometimes is a bit hurtful, perhaps. But if your website sucks, I will happily tell you to spend time on that first. You know, I'm not going to try to convince anyone to run campaigns before they're ready.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, most entrepreneurs have got some thick skin, I hope, right? You're going to need it.
Yeah, totally. I saw something that's like, if you're not getting set, if you don't hear 5 no's a week, you're not, you know, basically you're not doing the right thing. And I get so many no's, it just doesn't even bother me anymore, right? And ones that I really spend so much time like emailing and they're like, no, not right now, or like it's too expensive or whatever reason, it doesn't faze me. I'm just like, okay, that's totally fine.
Yes, I'm actually doing an episode on exactly that. I wrote not a podcast, but LinkedIn post about this recently, just in terms of resilience. It's like, buckle up, coconut. Like you are going to hear no. I mean, I hear no all day, every day, right? But it's the fiestas, obviously, that, you know, powerful persistence that makes it, that's what businesses are built off of, the few yeses, right?
Yeah.
You've got to go through a ton of no's to get there. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. And you do strike me as someone that keeps it very, very real, which is so refreshing. Thank you, Chelsea. Get in touch with Chelsea at momfluence.co and find her on LinkedIn. We'll have the links in the show notes before. Thank you for joining me today, Chelsea. Thank you for being so generous.
Yeah, it's very nice chatting with you. Yeah, always.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode deposited some useful advice and insights to help you grow your wealth. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future conversations. You can find more resources, episode details, and updates at growyourwealthpodcast.com. And let's keep the conversation going on Instagram. Follow me at Grow Your Wealth Podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or takeaway from today's show. Until next time, remember, burnout is optional. Take care, and I'll see you next week.